Hi, and welcome to today's podcast episode. Glad we can do these on video for you now. If you go to the very end of this episode, there's a very important question that led to me being able to stay here. This person was an integral part in me finding a way to make sure Toledo was my home, and I had work here. Not long ago, we had Rob Pasker on, who gave a great presentation about housing at Toledo Rotary. What is Toledo Rotary? What do they do other than have speakers? I call them like weekly TED Talks or mini weekly Toledo TED Talks. Let's find out all about them from an old friend of mine. Again, someone who is very integral in me being able to stay here with a historic new president of Toledo Rotary. Her name is Candace Harrison. Welcome. It's great to see you. Let me apologize for not being very communicative over the last, 7 years.
Yeah, that's right. Just left me hanging.
Yeah, it's good to see. Well, we've both gotten super busy.
For sure. All great things, though.
I wanted to have you in because you're the new president of Rotary. And I have a lot of questions about that. But Congratulations. You're the first African-American.
Yes.
Sixth woman.
Yes.
And Rotary, let's hope this was decades and decades ago, didn't allow either of those people in that club at one point, right?
Correct.
I look forward to them like every Tuesday morning. There's like an article in the Blade recapping what happened at Rotary that Monday, which Alex has invited me to a ton of times, but my Mondays suck, and I know she stopped going as much. And whatever, we'll move on. I call them, like, at least from what I read, like they're like our own little Toledo TED Talks, because you get to find out somebody doing something in the community that you might not know about. I had Rob Pasker in like last month, and he had said some things in his presentation. I was like, I would like him to come talk about this, because he really put housing issues in very simple black and white numbers. Other than that, because it is in the paper every week, and I don't know if everybody's reading it or seeing it, but what is Rotary? Do a lot of people who aren't connected to like our little circle ask you what Rotary is?
Yes, we have some people who have come to a meeting and leave and ask, what is Rotary? And so, to your point, yes, that's a great equivalent. A way to describe it is like little mini TED Talks that we learn about Toledo. But like yesterday, we heard from a gentleman who was, this is Wednesday, so Monday. We heard from a gentleman who was from the East Coast, and he was talking about what we used to call food waste, but we're not going to say the W word anymore. We're going to call it food surplus, and about sustainability and just how to care for our earth a little bit better. And it was a topic that I wasn't sure I was going to have be overly interested in, but I, hear all the talks regardless of what they're about. But he made the information so interesting. I could have listened to that for about some hours because it was just so interesting. I was learning so much. But that's really, I don't want to say the least of what we do because it's the most public thing that we do. Been very fortunate to get a lot of media coverage on our Monday meetings now. We didn't used to get that much of like every meeting. But Rotary actually, the meaning of the organization, we're a service organization, and we're a service organization of people that believe in service above self. That's our main mission, and we focus on serving the community as part of what we do, and we serve the community in different ways. Like we serve with our hands, but we also definitely make a lot of grants, and so we give over $100,000 to the community annually. Through grants to nonprofits in our community. So there are a lot of nonprofits that have benefited from the grants that we've given through our foundation. We do that. We step in when there's, catastrophic situations where, more support is needed, maybe outside of a grant. So, for example, food insecurity, when a lot of legislation changed at the end of the year, end of 2025, going into 2026, and a lot of organizations that were responsible for providing food to the community were kind of trying to figure out what they were going to do. Rotary was one of the organizations to step in and make a difference there. We're getting involved in the universal pre-K conversation to, make sure that children are educated and ready when they get to college. Get to college. College is on my mind. I'm sending one off to college Monday, and so it's in my head. But when they get ready to go to kindergarten, that they show up and they're ready to learn, and they're not behind because they haven't been able to access pre-K because they can't afford it. So we do a lot, and then we also have a lot of fun. We have a lot of social activities. We have coffee, like member coffee, just for member engagement. We do happy hours, bowling league. We have book clubs. We support other initiatives. Polio is a big. So I think I should have started by saying Rotary is an international organization. And there are several clubs in our area. Toledo is the largest club in this area. We're the largest club in the state of Ohio, and we're one of the top 5 largest clubs in the country, just by numbers, because Rotary in Toledo has always traditionally been over 300 people, which is a very large club. So even the big 3 C's in Toledo, Dayton, and all of them, our club is still larger. So we're part of an international organization, and polio is kind of like the main charge of the organization, which is eradicating that. So
Didn't we do that?
we
I know things are creeping back, but I thought we did that.
well, maybe
Dr. Salk.
and I would say in the U.S.
Okay.
it's non-existent, and I think it's a significant decline. It still exists, though, in some impoverished countries. And so Rotary wants to eradicate it altogether. But there's other, projects that we work on with other, under a previous president, Kevin Mullen. We did some cleanup and some community-based service down in Honduras. And so it just really depends on kind of what is happening, how we interject ourselves. But the main thing is service above self.
So maybe like a silent, stealthy backbone of the community?
Yes, a backbone, and what makes it silent, stealthy, and also pretty powerful is the influence of its members. And so, and historically, Rotary has been the members have been people that are definitely moving and shaking in the community. And I think previously there was a point of view of who the movers and shakers were.
Older white men?
That could have been a perception. But and there was definitely a different demographic in the club. Oh, I would say even 10 years ago.
How long have you been a part of it?
2016.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So-
it
so
looks
10 years.
different even since then. And now I think the perception and the reality has changed of what is a mover and shaker. It's, do you believe in the mission? Are you able to support your dues and not just join to be a part of our roster, but are you ready to get active and do some work on behalf of the community through this club?
So how does someone become a part of Rotary? I think you've outlined the why they might want to.
Mhm.
How do they go about that? How do they know that they can be a part? Do they have to be welcomed? Do they have to be nominated? What's that whole process?
And the process is very simple. Just in the initial steps, I would encourage anyone to come as a visitor. You can come, if you know a member of Rotary, or I tell anybody if you don't know a member but you're interested, you can reach out to me and be my guest. You can always come as a guest, and if you come once, we cover the cost of your lunch and your parking, as one of our guests, to just kind of see what we do on a Monday. And sometimes we do some activities that it might be appropriate to bring someone interested, like when we have our happy hours or some of our member engagement activities, so you can learn a little bit more about what we do. One thing we're implementing, that, and I'm glad you asked me that because I can kind of plug it before we actually get a chance to talk about it. We're going to focus a couple of our programs, instead of having a speaker come in and then talk about what they do. We're going to use our club members as the platform for the meeting to talk about what we do as an organization, and use that as an opportunity to strategically invite people like yourself who said, why, how can I join Rotary, or what is Rotary? You'll get to leave the meeting with a full understanding of what we do and some examples of how we serve. And you can decide, hey, this sounds like something I want to be a part of or want to think more about. But for now, you can come as a guest, and then our application is online. It asks, a series of questions and things like that. And then you have to have 2 sponsors, and the sponsors do need to be members. And then, of course, pay your dues.
Some people might think when they're listening to what you just said, or what they might read about Rotary, might they think, oh, it's just another stuffy Toledo club, or something that might happen in Inverness, but that's not the case.
No, and actually, and I'm trying to, so in some ways, because there is some formality to how we operate. We have a really strict, when you come in, we start our meetings, we try to do our best to start immediately at noon, no later than 5 minutes late. We end at 1. Now, let's just say we have a speaker that's really intriguing and people have like lots of questions. People are free to go at one, but if you want to stick around and keep asking questions, you can. So we do have a little formality, and it is, it's a service organization, but it's a professional organization. So there is, I won't say stuffiness, but it's a little bit of professionalism to the way that we operate on Mondays.
You need to have some level of decorum. Well, wait a second. Doesn't Eric Creed come to these?
He does, and I met him for the first time like a couple of weeks ago. He took a, selfie with me, and then I turned around and took one with him.
If Eric can go on one of his selfie rampages at Rotary,
he can.
It's not that stuffy.
No, and then just doing new things to try to make it, more friendly and have members be more engaged and have more fun. Our last membership chair, she implemented a process where people pull their phones. I like to take selfies, so we check in. So you'll see people on Monday, just kind of sharing pictures of Rotary, but we also upload them into our portal, and we get points for like sharing that we were at Rotary events on our social media and things like that, and we can win little small things. I just implemented under my presidency, we're going to have a Rotary Club of Toledo playlist on Spotify, and we'll have our members submit songs that they want to hear, so that when we come in and people are having lunch before we get started, normally it's just like literally dead silence and people talking. So it seems like a business meeting, and then that contributes to the stuffiness. And if you come in as a guest and you don't really know anybody, it just gives a feeling. And so we want to try to change the energy a little bit just by having some good, appropriate, for the daytime kind of music just playing, not obnoxiously, but in the background. So just to set a tone of comfort and, just warm it up a little bit.
How do you choose who gets to come speak or present? I'm sure you have people reaching out to you. I'm sure the decisions can be challenging. Is there like a small chorus of you that get together and go, we like this person, and then we got to schedule this at a certain time, we've got to fit certain guidelines? And what's the selection process for speakers?
So we have a committee, a program committee. Now the president has some the ability to kind of, say
overrule.
No, not and maybe we had presidents previously overrule. I don't know that I would overrule the committee's decision, but I think I could say, hey, I found out that, I don't know, Zaya Cook's going to be in Toledo. I just made that up because I know her family, but she's going to be in Toledo. And if I can get, her to speak at Rotary, can we add her to a program and bypass like our process because of timing like that? That's the only way I would do that.
Dictators are in. Feel free to take it over. Be the first authoritarian leader of Rotary.
So, but no, we usually have a form that our membership can fill out, or let's just say, if it's somebody who's not a member, but, like City of Toledo. City of Toledo, the zoo, the museum, Toledo Public Schools, the Metro Parks, those are orgs that we kind of have like every couple of years come back to us and give us like the state of the thing, because it's just like a cultural asset and we want to know what's going on with it and we want to hear. We do not allow people to get up and like pitch a levy. So like if you're up there running for, campaigning or whatever, you can come, like, for example, the mayor can come and just talk about here's what's happening in Toledo. Not like, and then we're going to put this on the ballot. We could really use your support. You can't do that. And then, like I said, we have people fill out the form, and then the committee reviews the speaker presentations to determine if it is the appropriate thing for our full membership and guests to hear.
Only members can be presenters or speakers, or
no. The members like come to the committee with ideas.
Got it. Okay.
And then the committee also has ideas too, so they might, say, well, hey, an example. We had someone recommend like the new athletic department at University of Toledo. They have a new director, a couple
Tom Moreland, I believe is his name.
Yeah, and I had a chance. He seemed pretty nice. I had a chance to meet him at the 19th hole event. That was part of the Toledo Classic, and just having him come. So that's something that the committee is deciding when is the right time to have him and so forth, because we just recently had University of Toledo's new president of the institution, and so trying to just split it up. And we got a lot of BG members, so they want to hear from Dr. Rogers. So just trying to make sure that everybody is represented, and then we have a good cross section of the community. We don't want to have 15 programs all education. We want to be able to mix it up, and so the committee kind of has oversight of that. Alex used to be a co-chair, vice chair of that committee.
Her and Kevin were a team, right?
Well, that was the time he was our club president, and she was actually with Sam. She was with the team with Sam, and so That's what they do. They make the decisions on what we have, and then they kind of schedule them out with the board oversight of that.
There was one thing in the Blade article that I have sitting here in front of me that wasn't really discussed. You can tell from the context. What are you laughing at? You don't even know what I'm going to ask.
I don't know. I don't know.
You are deeply woven into the community in a variety of causes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you a bit of a challenging question, maybe even a little like uncomfortable. Not in a bad way, but it will make you. Well, I will ask you to overcome your humility. Why do you think you became president? Other than having these deep community ties, let's say you were looking at you for a candidate to be president. Why do you think you were selected?
That is a good question. Okay, so just for context, Rotary has a succession process, and so
not when you're done. This is going to be a 5-year presidency.
Yeah, I'm going to add. Yeah,
there you go.
Implement some new things where I get to stay around for a couple more years. No, so Rotary has a process in that I have been knowing for the last 2 years that I would be president now.
Got it.
When I accepted the role of vice president, I was basically saying I will be president because you become vice president, then president-elect, and then president. That's the succession. So I've known for a couple of years. I have been in Rotary since 2016, and I've been active and a diligent servant to the organization since then. I think from the standpoint of what I will do, will I step into leadership? Now, I do say I had to really think, and I came very close to saying no to the opportunity because I know it's a lot of work, and I know the gravity of the responsibility, and I don't want to take on something and do like a trash job. So I was like, okay, I need to make sure I can do it. Little conversation, with my family and all that. But then I understood the gravity of what it was, and I didn't want to decline it. The opportunity to, break some barriers for maybe somebody down the line, an opportunity to have a new type of leadership. And I welcome that. And then I was very honored that I would be asked. Now, I do think in an organization like Rotary, not unlike a lot of places I've worked, the demographic is white, male, corporate, oftentimes C-suite, and there's a level of assertiveness I think you need to be able to have, enough confidence in yourself, enough ability to have a thick skin, not, you got to just be a strong person, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think in that regard, I think I've demonstrated that too. I think people understood that I could handle the responsibility. It was immediately too that I started to be approached about some things that people had concerns with, and it just was what it was. But I think having a thick skin and being able to manage all types of personalities and work well with all types of people was a good characteristic to have.
Were you? Did you win the YWCA Milestone Award?
I did.
I know you won it.
Oh,
was it after you were already in the succession plan?
Yeah, I was president-elect.
Had to be a nice feather in your hat. Tell me about winning that and what that was like.
It's been like a real season for me and my family right now. We've had a lot of great things go on in this year. So I found out another organization, Sisters of Notre Dame, they host this annual women's celebration called Shine, Women Who Shine. And it's the Shine Women Summit, and they have speakers, and then they recognize women in the community. And I'm on the committee for that to help plan that. I had just left the actual Shine event where we were recognizing other people when Lisa McDuffie, who's the executive director of YWCA, called me. Well, she texted me first and said, "Hey, I got a question. I want to talk to you about milestones. Do you have time to talk?" And I'm like, "Now, or you want me to call you tomorrow?" Because it was like 9:30 p.m. And she said, "Well, if you can talk now, I would love to talk now." And in my mind, because of the role I do at work, I was like, "Oh, she probably wants a sponsorship." And I'm like, because I didn't even, and not that I don't think I was deserving, because I don't feel an imposter syndrome at all. I feel like for what I was recognized for, I definitely was deserving of it. However, I don't know the process, or, how they arrive at the winner, and it's one person in a category. I just didn't know if this was the time, so I didn't even assume it. And when I called her back, she was like, "Well, I just wanted to let you know, you are going to be our recipient in the category of volunteerism." And it was really surreal. And I had to sit on that information for like 3 weeks, because they told the recipients and they told us that we could tell our spouses, but just asked that we didn't tell anybody else, because they wanted to announce it at their annual press conference when they let the community know. So, yeah, I was very proud. I was very honored. And I was honored and proud for the recognition of my work, because when you do community service, you're not really doing work to be recognized. You're just doing it because that's just what you do. But in at the core of anybody, I don't think there's anyone around, and people can say that, and I personally believe it's no way possible. Nobody ever wants acknowledgement for what they do. You might not be doing the work to get acknowledged, but it always feels really good to be acknowledged, is what I'm saying. So I don't think there's anybody like, you don't have to acknowledge me if somebody wants to. It might be uncomfortable if you're someone who don't like attention, but to say it didn't feel good. What was weird though in the whole thing, and also what I was very proud about, I had to really soak in. I got to do all of that in front of my family. Like, I got to get, sworn into Rotary as president in front of my family. So my son and my daughter, my husband, my father, they all, my aunt, my cousin, and our family is close. I got to do that in front of them. And I think I was more proud of that at milestones than anybody else in the room. Even though our CEO, he gave wonderful remarks about me, I was very proud that he would say that in a public forum with that many people, about what I mean to our company and things like that. But doing that in front of my children and kind of setting a tone for them of what our family legacy is, I love that. So I felt proud, I felt excited, but I felt overwhelmed. As extroverted as I am, and as much as I love people, and as much as I love to socialize, my social battery was depleted by the end. It was a lot of smiling, a lot of photos, it was a lot of people. And I'm the type of person that I'm going to try to acknowledge everybody who wants to talk to me or shake my hand. I didn't even get to eat the lunch they brought to my table because people wanted to talk to me, and I didn't want to be like, well, they told me I only had 20 minutes to eat, but I'm like, okay, I'll just eat it later kind of thing. And it was just overwhelming to be the recipient of attention, because I'm always, celebrating other people, so that I could see how a person who's introverted can feel at the end of just a regular event. That was my first experience with that. And so we had a little party at my house that evening, and then a thunderstorm kept everybody at our house much longer, because it was like a severe thunderstorm. It rained really bad. It was awful, but we had so much fun.
Good.
So
Good.
Yeah, it was nice.
Well deserved. Lots of distinguished honors in the last couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I feel very, very proud and very honored.
You have a day job. How do you balance all of this? Because this is not your regular job.
It is not. In Rotary, fortunately, I work in a company that welcomes the community representation. We are, actively in the process of, building an even stronger brand in the community. People, already know who we are because we've been here. Can I talk about them? Can I say?
Your regular company?
Yeah.
Yes, by all means.
Oh, okay. I work for a company called SSOE Group, and we're located in downtown Toledo. We've been there over 75 years. It's an architecture and engineering firm. It's the first corporate job I've ever had, and I was hired as Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
What's SSOE?
So SSOE is the last names of the four founders.
Got it.
And so, and the four founders have since passed on, but their families are still around, and they keep the legacy of those founders still, actively going. So even though now we're a global enterprise, organization, we have offices all over the U.S., Mexico, and in India, it still very much feels like a local company. We
Good.
Still keep a lot of the flavor of that, which I love. It's a lot of people who have been working there since, some of our founders were still alive. So, it's, like I said, a really great place to be. We have a wonderful CEO, Vince DePafi, who was the person who kind of began the journey of DEI where I work. And now we started a foundation because we were doing giving corporately, but we increased that significantly. So we started a foundation to be more formal in how we give to the community. And that fell as a part of something I'm now responsible for. So because of that, I'm in the community a lot already. And Rotary is usually like early before work starts or evening after work ends. The Monday meetings are the only thing that kind of happens during the workday. So I get an opportunity to be a little flexible in that. And then, like I said, I get a chance to represent our company in multiple ways like this. It's a great company to work for.
Yeah, the two things seem to be married nicely together.
Yes.
Back to speakers at Rotary. You mentioned the gentleman who spoke about the W word.
Yes, Thomas McQuillan. That was his name.
From this past Monday. In your time, in 10 years of Rotary, is there one presentation that just sticks with you, that maybe drives a lot of who you are? Is there one, I know you mentioned this with this one, you thought it might not be that interesting, but you found it so after the fact. So one, is there one that sticks with you because it kind of like continues to drive your innate being? And is there another one you're like, well, I thought that would suck, but it was really awesome?
So one that I think drives my inner being, honestly, the ones I really like hearing from our cultural assets. And I think it's because when we get to hear from the metro parks, and one time I got a chance to sit through the meeting where they presented the renderings on what they wanted to do downtown. And now to be able to see it's here, blah, blah, blah. And this is what we're trying to do next. So being able to see something from like a vision to implementation, it makes me really proud. I think getting to hear from, Adam Levine at the museum about, why they're redoing the galleries and what they will look like and, what the goal is behind those things. It makes you proud. It makes you proud to live here and understand. So I think the things that I love that really are critical to who I am as a person are hearing from the organizations that make Toledo amazing. And getting to hear what they're doing so that we can go out and be advocates for that story and talk about Toledo.
One that didn't suck.
One that didn't suck. So let me think, because I've heard a lot of them. I mean, just a lot of.
How about something like the gentleman from Monday? Like maybe that's the one, because you didn't do an eye roll, but I saw that the way you presented it, not your most favorite topic, but you wound up enjoying it because of the information or the way they presented it.
The information and the way that it was presented, I really, really, really enjoyed. And I think I really enjoyed it so much because for me, I think the reason why I don't want to say it's not my favorite topic, it's a topic that I just know so little about. You know what I mean? I know so little about because I just don't know. I'm just uninformed. And I'm uninformed because the circles I'm in, that's kind of not like the thing that they're talking about. So I think when I heard it, I thought it was going to be something that I wouldn't feel like I was connected to.
But isn't that part of why you do Rotary?
Oh, absolutely.
To learn about things that you don't know about? And now I bet you're throwing things away a lot differently since Monday, right?
And thinking about stuff differently. Like, when I was eating and then I was like, oh, because I had, like I told you when I walked in, I had lunch from Balance. And then I was like, oh, all of this stuff is sustainable. Like, so when I was throwing it away, I didn't feel bad, about it being, something that I was throwing away. But it really did put into perspective how, because he made a statement about like trash. He showed this big picture of a big large body of water and it was all this trash in there. It was like so much trash. And he was like, that's not their problem. That's our problem. They didn't do that. We did that. Like a lot of things that we do in our world impacts other people and we don't even know it. And like, this is a problem that we all contribute to. So don't see it as something that's like them over there. You're contributing to it too. So and he was really funny and engaging. I think that is what held a lot of people too, that he could talk about it in a way that was interesting too. We've heard a lot of people in politics in a lot of different ways, which I enjoy hearing about politics, even if it's not my politics, if you're presenting information. I want to know everything. So yeah, don't start trying to sway it though. Like coming in, I don't want to hear an agenda. That is off-putting to me anywhere that they give you the floor and it's not a campaign stump. If you get the floor somewhere, and especially at Rotary, you need to be proud that you've been invited to sit in front of this group of people, because this group of people can really get things done in this community. So if you get up there, stick to the script. And we've had some deviation, and that's something that stuck with me in the wrong way. And so one of the things I'm committed to doing is really protecting the podium, because our members have an expectation when they come. And when they come, we don't want to present something to them that they're not expecting because we had a speaker go off script.
Is that going to be your line, protecting the podium?
I'm protecting the podium.
Is that your NBA head coach line, protect the podium?
I should. I think I might get some T-shirts made now.
T-shirts, perhaps some type of buzzer.
Something just.
Perhaps a large fellow standing next to the podium.
Yeah, and then I just point and give a sign.
You blink and go, he's done. They're done. They're done. I have two last questions for you.
Okay.
I didn't bring you here for this, but with a lot of the things that have been going on lately, I thought, well, why not? I think I would like you to have my boss speak at Rotary.
Okay.
To speak as to why radio is still important, and especially here where we're very fortunate, where our hallways are littered with bodies, and our company does as best as it possibly can to keep these bodies, because they do believe that the bodies are what keeps us connected to the community. Like I took off on Monday because I've done like all the Jeep Fest, and I know you're the extrovert, I'm the introvert. I could not get home fast enough on Saturday to see my dogs. But those are the days that matter a lot more than, being on the radio. I always make the comparison to the line, like years ago, you used to pay like radio DJs to come out to your event and stuff like that. Now it's our job to go out to these places so that people will turn the radio on to listen to us. That's why I take up every opportunity I get. Ursula. Is Ursula part of Rotary?
Who is Ursula?
Ursula works at Tarda. She was at Zeph before. That's where I met her.
So I know who Ursula is, but Laura, their CEO, is the member.
Okay. Love Laura. Ursula asked me to be a part of some, they call it rodeo. She wanted to come judge their drivers on a Saturday morning. It sounds kind of fun, and I want them to let me drive again. But, like, it's those opportunities where years ago, and maybe it's just, getting older. Like, if it's not a club gig, I'm not doing it. But now it's like I can't say yes to those fast enough so that people will go, oh, I've heard your voice, or I've heard your name. And, you get them to tune in. It's such a different paradigm. But to allow my boss to share with people, like, how we are still wanting to be a part of the community and how we can help others. This medium and many legacy mediums, the Blade, where your article is, we obviously know that they're not what they were, but they're not irrelevant. Not yet. We've got to work hard to ensure that we can extend the life as long as possible.
And so when you first said that, the first thing my mind went to is how do we make that relevant? So we have a 4-way test, and it's the 4-way test that's kind of the guiding principles of Rotary. Is it the truth? Is it fair? Does it build goodwill and friendships? And is it beneficial to all involved?
Yes.
So the thing I thought is like, okay, how do we make what his boss would say relevant? And then you went into the why it matters. And then it made me think, is that a larger program of, your boss and maybe somebody from television, maybe somebody from the Blade, talking about why we still matter and why we need to protect local journalists.
Yeah.
Why is it important? To why it's important, and not why it's relevant too. So that was like in my mind, I was already like generating a program, like, oh wow, because that could be this, and this. Because I think from all aspects, the print media probably has some sort of thought on like why they're relevant and why we should still have that, why that matters. But then like radio, that's a little bit more, because I think the printed paper is a little bit different than like television or radio, because you have to rely now so heavily on social media to be like accurate. Because like before you had to just like wait until tomorrow to get the information in the paper, but then now you get media or television media that's coming on 3 times a day now. So, you put the paper out in the morning, well, 2 more news cycles come out, before you can put it. So now you have internet that is just 24 hours. So I think they would have to, the people would be interested. Why would a newspaper still matter? Same thing with radio, same thing with TV, because now you got TikTok where people can catch little sound bites of stuff that's happening, and now I don't have to wait until the 6 o'clock or 11 o'clock news. So have someone to talk about why that still matters.
And let younger audiences know that, look, you don't have to sit and wait for Jerry Anderson at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, if you do want to follow some news, there are people who do local news who will deliver it on a platform
on a
where you're
platform
at.
like that, because I tell you, I know for sure I see a lot of people on WTOL using TikTok. I like TikTok, so I'm on there quite a bit, and I see them on there doing right on the spot. As soon as they show up at something, they're delivering the news just like they would on TV, but they're doing it on social media. So
And now, like what I described, maybe if you've got the TV on in the background or you're scrolling to their website, you might actually look out to see their stuff because, that's that person who gave me that story I enjoyed on TikTok for a couple of seconds. We call it all the social media is discovery. I'll see all the time people say that my medium radio is for like 40 and 50 and up now, and they're not wrong, but I don't have to stay contained to radio. I need to be other places where people might be who I can relate to, and maybe I can, help their day in some way, whether it's entertain or inform.
I agree. And personally, I still listen to the radio. I listen to local radio sometimes, and I also listen to, syndicated stuff that, comes on. Some stuff in the morning is what I like.
You listen to Breakfast Club?
No, I listen to Ricky Smiley in the morning. But I watch the Breakfast Club sometimes later on a podcast because I do like Charlamagne the God. But I watch that, and but I also listen to Sirius satellite radio. So I listen to all kinds of, but I definitely listen to the radio a lot. I stream at work, and when I'm in my car, just driving around or whatever, unless I'm taking a long trip like somewhere, then I'll stream because I don't have to worry about it going out and trying to find another station and all of that. But I still very much like the radio because I think too, I'm just from a generation which is very different than current generation that's still very much connected to people. Like, I grew up where the people on the news, my dad used to run into people at his job. He worked in like a retail store. And when the people who would be on the news, the, talent, he would get their autographs and bring them to me
They
at
were
home.
celebrities.
I literally have photo albums from when I was a kid that has Charlie Umpenauer's and Jeff Height's autograph. In my, so it was a big deal to encounter those people. Same with radio people, where you would actually get to see them in person, or out in the wild, people that you only see on TV or hear. And so I think because I come from that, I'm still of that mentality that's probably going to always be important unless it goes away and I don't have access to it. I think it will always be important. And so I think it would be helpful for, like you said, new generations to understand the value.
And a simple thing, I know when it comes to your speakers, you're not about selling something, but in this era, I like to think that I kind of pioneered this before our company really started to push it. I remember 3 or 4 years or so ago, I started putting things on the air that's saying free, 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 because it is. And nothing's free. You have to sit through commercials, but you can always tune away and come back, but it's free. And especially in this era where we're getting nickel and dimed month by month, you have to decide on trade-offs. And as much in the same way that records came back, cassettes and CDs have trickled back one day, and it's probably several decades off. I hope not, but radio will be nostalgia for younger people. Will bring it back because they'll be like, oh, it's cool old stuff.
Yeah.
In the same way that we've done that, as generations have always done that. The other question I wanted to ask you was, do you remember how we met?
I feel like we were doing something together, some sort
That's very broad.
Well, I know. I feel like we met as a result of, but we were both a part of the same thing. Is that how we met?
You're warm.
I feel like,
because I remember it like that,
you?
which also feeds into me being disappointed at myself that I've not connected with you like this sooner. But we're both very busy, and
tell me where it was.
I was doing a remote. It was 2015 or 2016. I have to look at my pictures for the Art Museum Street Party.
Oh, at the block party, and I was
block
director
party.
of communication.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. See?
And then, so I think it was 2016 because I think it was the next year. I bartended for Dennis's library rooftop party. And
Oh,
it was
yes,
it
I
was
remember
the
that.
summer of 2017.
It sure was.
And I remember when
and
I
it
had
was
been,
so much fun.
it was a great time. I had been let go at that point, and I kind of had people back in my head of like people I wanted to connect with because I had decided to stay here, and you were on my list with having met the summer prior, and you showed up, and bam, and I remember later on that summer we had lunch at the cafe, and you told me about your son going down to Atlanta, going to do his producer stuff, and now he's probably like 42 years old because that was so long ago.
27. Yeah, he's 27.
So-
and the baby was in the 3rd grade, and now that's who's going to college Monday.
Look at that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was all 9 years ago now. So
Yeah,
just
that
curious.
is. And now, but I remember it vividly. I do. Well, but look at you now. Now you calling me to come talk.
Look at us both now. Thanks so much for the time. Did we catch everything that we should for Rotary?
I think we did,
Yeah.
except just, look at our website. Rotary, it's Rotary. I should know the website by heart, but if you Google Rotary Toledo, you'll find our club because, like I said, there are a few clubs in town, and our club might not be for you. And so of course, I'm here to recruit for our club. I want people to come to us, but I want you to go to the club that fits how you are. So we have, it's the Sylvania, it's the Waterville, it's the Reynolds Corner. Whatever is the right fit for you is all the same mission of the international organization. If you believe in service above self, we would love for you to come check us out and see what we do. And if you were a member and said, hey, this isn't for me before, we've had some really dynamic leaders in the last, several years that are kind of trying to position our Rotary Club to be more reflective of the community we live in. So I think you would be welcoming, some of those changes if you came and checked us out again.
Was Adam losing his mind with the guy on Monday?
Adam Cassie?
Yeah.
That's who invited him.
I figured as much.
That's who invited him. That's he was the person that connected us to him.
He must have been bouncing off the walls, all the sustainability stuff.
Yeah. And
Adam's become a good friend over the years.
And he's a great guy,
Yep.
too. He's actually our current vice president.
Yeah.
So he will be president in 2 years.
Adam's become a good friend. I don't remember how I met. Maybe he got sent over to me, and we've just connected over the years. Do you want a good Adam story?
Yeah, give me a good Adam story, which is hard because I'm like, he just like, it's probably still a good story, even though I couldn't imagine it being some sort of story he wouldn't want people to know type story.
Oh, no. No, this does bring him shame, though. Two summers ago, so some close friends of mine, we go to the movies like almost every Thursday night. And Adam became close with us. He got to know the two other people I'd go with. And we're like, yeah, see if Adam wants to come with us. So it was July of 2 years ago, and we went to go see the biggest movie of the summer, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
And Adam left in the middle.
Because was it just too much?
No.
Oh.
He had a kid thing at home.
Oh.
Like one of the kids had to go to urgent care or whatever, so we have teased him ever since. Like, did you ever see the full movie?
The rest
Adam?
of the movie?
Like the theater was packed, and out goes this guy, and he didn't say anything. He just left.
He's a great dad, though,
Yeah.
and that's one thing I love. First of all, I love seeing active parents, but especially active fathers. And I love that he prioritizes his children. He's very visible and very honest in that. I love that. And like I said, he's a really nice guy who just cares about the club, but he cares about the community and in the world in general. And like I said, that he is the person. And so he's kind of also basking in the glory of being responsible for this program that everybody enjoyed so much.
Yeah.
Because it was his program.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Great to see you.
Great to see you, too. Thank you for having me.